Hi, ich grüße euch. Willkommen zurück zur Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection. Ja, wir waren beim letzten Mal stehen geblieben. Bei den Videos. Ja, ich werde jetzt, glaube ich, sind ja so viele Dokus-Videos jetzt hier, dass ich jetzt in dieser und nächsten Part, glaube ich, nur einfach mal die Doku-Dinger mache. Und dann beim übernächsten Part gibt es dann wieder ein bisschen Kampfdinger. Nur es sind ja echt ein paar und wie gesagt, ich will auf jeden Fall alle mal durchzeigen. Deswegen, und sind da mehrere Kapitel, also deswegen, sonst sind wir Weihnachten noch nicht fertig, glaube ich. Juti, dann quatsch ich nicht so viel, dann geht's einfach mal los, wa?
The team on Mortal Kombat 1 was 4 of us.
My name is Ed Boone. I'm co-designer and programmer.
My name's Dan Forden, and I do sound and music.
John Vogel, background special effects.
John Tobias, and co-designer and lead artist.
There was other sort of support staff, but that had to do more with like the cabinet and the wiring.
A team being composed of, I think, 4, 5, 6 people was not uncommon.
You were in one of two categories, programmer or artist, and that was basically it. Everything felt like, being in a rock band or something, just a very few number of guys. He's guitar, he's drum, he's, we all had our own jobs to do, and, we'd fight with each other, and we'd hang out with each other and go see movies with each other and stuff. And
certainly when I started working on Smash TV, it was myself, Mark Turmel, and I think there was maybe one other programmer at the time, and then Eugene Jarvis eventually came on.
Partly it was just the simplicity of the games of that era. 8-bit, pixel art, that a lot of the animation was just done with graph paper. Say Defender, all the animations of that game could be done in a week.
a lot of people think that, somebody up high says you're going to make a fighting game and you're going to call it Mortal Kombat and it's going to look like this, and then we go, okay, and do it. That's not how it worked at all.
It's a bit of the Wild West. There wasn't rules. There wasn't any, well, this is how you make a video game. Everybody made it differently. And as long as cool new stuff was showing up on your screen every once in a while, management would, peek their head in. Oh, you got fatalities going. Good job. And then they'd leave and you just continue with it.
It was so pure, you didn't have to, have a committee meeting every time you wanted to add a feature. And
Things were so loose back then, there wasn't really a workflow. It was like, hey, we need to get something done. Just do it.
it was just like, yeah, let's try this out, and see if it works.
And I think maybe a part of it was also that I wasn't conscious of might have been to keep costs down. I know what my salary was at the time. I don't know what Ed's salary was, but I have to believe that the development of MK in terms of the cost of us had to have been, I don't know, not much. And I remember at the end of my first year working at Midway, I was doing my taxes. My dad was helping me do my taxes. When I started at Williams, I was making $19,000 a year. He knew the hours I was putting in, and we did the math, and I was making probably $2 an hour is what I was making working at Williams, and I didn't care. I loved the work so much.
I know it's not a popular topic, but like, the overnighters and the, going out for breakfast, nobody told us to do that. Nobody said, stay till midnight tonight. If anything, they were, you guys are burning yourselves out and you gotta take it easy or something, so.
Because of the schedules and because of how few people there were, and we were all playing multiple roles, wore multiple hats, that there was just too much work. And it wasn't like we were being made to do this. It was an art, it was a craft, and it was a labor of love. So we were so passionate that we spent, all of our waking hours and our sleeping hours in the studio.
Some people look back and they go, oh, that was that was abuse or something like that. It's like, no, we were guys in our 20s who were motivated to do something cool. You were working on Liu Kang's, flying kick, and it was feeling good, and you wanted to keep perfecting it, and it was my obsession. It was like being paid to do a hobby. If a band is up all night learning a song, they want to nail it, and it's the exact same thing. It's completely self-motivated.
Back then, it was nothing but fun. It was just, working there was just hilarious. The secret sauce was basically we were just a bunch of knuckleheads doing whatever we wanted, and we were happy.
Die furchterregenden 4, ja. die ersten Skizzen? Anfang 92 begann John Tobias, der mittlerweile legendären Charakter von Mortal Kombat, zu schaffen. Ursprünglich Mitsune Miyamoto. Ah ja. Naja, aber ja, gut, ich denke mal, der Name, der hätte sich jetzt wahrscheinlich auch, wenn er jetzt Yoshitsune Miyamoto geheißen hätte, dann wäre auch, denke ich mal, okay. Hätte man sich dran gewöhnt wahrscheinlich. Gestaltung der Legenden. Weiter jetzt.
My job on MK1 was basically to do backgrounds. Like John would do characters and I would do the backgrounds. Things were very simple back then, you know, like.
One more time.
He would choose which frames he wanted to use and then cut the background away from the characters, and that was his job, you know.
Literally after we shot the footage, I think maybe that night or the next day, I started stripping frames right away. We did a lot of playing around with lighting. We were just sort of discovering. I think we probably taped more than we needed just to make sure that we got enough coverage.
I remember after the Sonya's leg grab, having to say something along the lines of, you know, trust us, it's going to be really cool. The image was clear in my head. Sometimes we forget that it's not inside everybody's head.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, now once from the very middle, all you have to do is just land right there.
Can you do that, or is that
The beginning part.
She should do it from the stance.
Right.
We were trying to get a film-like quality, but we wanted to just amp it up a little bit. And once we realized that pumping up colors really attracted people to our games, that was, you know, also our trademark.
A lot of the character design that I did for Mortal Kombat was based on the limitations of the hardware. So I knew that we had a limited color palette that we could work with. I knew that you know, the pixel resolution kind of restricted what we were capable of doing. So bold colors, simple shapes would distinguish one character from another would be important. And I knew that a color palette that would distinguish one character from another was also important. And I was careful not to repeat those things.
You know, the thing about the ninjas was, you know, the nature of them, as you know, there were palette swaps of each other. It was all to save memory. You know, it was a very precious thing in our arcade games. And so Scorpion and Sub-Zero, they were the same character with different colors. You know, John wrote this amazing backstory behind them, making them enemies, and that added to the mystique of the characters.
In one of the pages of my notebook, I had scribbled, okay, here are the characters and here are their archetypes. I knew that, well, we need a hero, we need a villain, we need a sidekick, we need all these things. I was a big Joseph Campbell fan. I had read his books and I was aware of the hero's journey and the character archetypes that he had sort of outlined. I thought, okay, well, if we could tell implicit story through character archetypes, the players might sort of almost subconsciously relate to the characters in a particular way. So that played a part in sort of the character choices we made. I don't recall exactly why we did some characters and not others. I know that we were limited with the number of characters we could do. A few of them I remember not using. One of them was a character called Minamoto Yoshitsune, who was based on a Japanese mythological character, and another one was called Rakuro, who was based on, I think, a Japanese mythological beasts. Those two characters didn't make it in. I think part of it was because the names became a big deal for us. It's like, you know, how does this name roll off the tongue? You know, if a name was too long, we knew it was going to be difficult to display on the health meters. It was usually silly things like that would play a part in some of the choices we made.
Most of the characters' names came from John Tobias. A couple of the characters, he didn't have a name written down for them. He had Ninja 1 and Ninja 2. I was a little bit more of like a simple superhero mindset, so I started calling them Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Those simple names were kind of like my influence, but the authentic, cool names, Goro, Shang Tsung, Kano, Raiden, that was John's deal.
For Mortal Kombat 1, there wasn't a lot in the way of concept art that we did. Conceptualization was just limited to just scribblings in a notepad.
I don't remember many, if any, drawings of backgrounds, but there may have been some. I just remember kind of like I said, just winging it and doing whatever. Like John would say, I'd like a dungeon or something, and that became Goro's lair, I had already learned how to do the parallax scrolling stuff from Terminator 2, so that worked out well with doing parallax stuff for Mortal Kombat as well. I know there was one specific background that he wanted, and that was with statues, the statue background. Just make something look cool. That was basically the rule. I went to Chinatown, and just to get references and stuff, there would be, an interesting vase, and I would video that vase, and then I use that, and that's Shang Tsung's, one of Shang Tsung's thrones is like the vase, There's the dragon that was sitting on Ken Fedesna's desk. I just said, hey, can I video that? And he's like, cool. So I grabbed it off his desk, took it to my office, and grabbed it. That's like in one of the backgrounds, and there's two of them. And then there's the pagoda in Chinatown that I videoed that and used that as, the courtyard, I guess we call it, I think. Shang Tsung is also in another chair, and it's that big roof thing. That's from Chicago. That's from Chinatown. So sometimes it meant opening a book and going, oh, that's a cool Chinese thing. Get the camera, take video of it, and use that. There are things from books in Mortal Kombat 1. I just went out and grabbed stuff, what looks cool. Kind of a guerrilla, artsy sort of way. It wasn't really planned all that much back then.
Jo, also Namen finde ich persönlich jetzt auch ziemlich wichtig bei den Videospielen. Weil wenn du jetzt so einen 0815 Namen hast, dann macht es dir auch keinen Spaß eigentlich. Ein paar einfache Skizzen machte John Tobias die ersten Schritte in Richtung von etwas, das schließlich zu einem der umfangreichsten Universen wurde. Biografien und Attract-Modus. Die Erschaffung eines Monsters. Zusätzlich zu den menschlichen Charakteren erschuf John Tobias ein furchterregendes vierarmiges Bossmonster namens Goro. Ja, gut, da hat er noch einen Schwanz gehabt. Das Bild finde ich finde ich cool. Das ist echt einer meiner Favorites, weil so finde ich die eigentlich. Warte mal, waren da auch noch mehr? Ah ja, da waren noch mehr, siehst du. Gut. Goro lebt. Ja, Knetfiguren. Oder Schaumstoffmodelle, ja. Aber alles Handarbeit war, was man sich da für Arbeit gemacht hat. Aber deswegen war Mortal Kombat auch so einzigartig, war. Perfektionierung des Spielgefühls. Ja, und
one of the really cool things about Mortal Kombat and about some of the really great games, if you have a really great winning concept, often, they got that game running in like a month. A lot of modern games, it seems like they spend all their time in this graphical wilderness trying to get everything looking so cool, and then they've got like 3 weeks left to figure out what the game is.
We had a very fast iteration. I would get art from John. We put it in, and an hour later, we were playing it.
The first time you play it, you just go, this is incredible. You knew you were on the right course.
Ed was like just eager to have people in and give him feedback on stuff.
A lot of times it was just, someone, you'd have someone in your office to look at something and they go, hey, what about this? And then, maybe that's a good idea.
Ideas could come and be turned into reality in the same day.
Yeah,
basically.
in fact, I remember we would record a little bit of footage.
Okay, one more time. All right, that's good. That's good.
And it wasn't until Ed actually got the frames and could get them in the game, not until that point would we know that we were making the right choices.
When we were making this game, Street Fighter II was the big rage, and I was a huge admirer of that game. At the same time, I felt like there was a little bit more ceiling room in terms of how outrageous you can get with the moves. We wanted characters using magic, disappearing, teleporting, doing all these kind of unpredictable things. And a lot of the moves were constructed from kind of almost like scraps. Kano's ball was from his flipping animation. Scorpion's teleport was from his jump punch animation.
Scorpion throwing a spear and pulling somebody in,
It was something that I remember I thought of that was just an outrageous move that wasn't seen in any other fighting game.
Right, although we used to try to do the wind up and throw was usually like 5 frames maybe. Like if you went like
Yeah, something like that.
It was one of those spur of the moment, inspirational ideas that ended up becoming like very signature, very iconic to Mortal Kombat.
The way he was implementing them was so interesting because he uses the frames of animation, and he was, as a programmer, would move them around to do things. Like he would define like how things animated across the screen.
When we did the Liu Kang flying kick, you got to stop him once he makes contact, and it'll make the impact feel like it's a lot more intense and more forceful. Iterating again and again on how important it is that we get the timing of all these things correct.
Other than, how John would define what the actual frames of animation were, Ed defined how things moved around.
There's little nuances that are put into the game that a lot of players don't identify, but they just know that it feels good, and they're not sure why.
I think that was a hard lesson to learn back in the day of, hey, I want this animation to be really smooth and I want it to be like 100 frames. And it's like, no, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. And it has to feel good.
Like, it's got to have impact. Impact and drama, that's what people are going to respond to.
Get over here, the uppercut was such a big, ridiculous reaction.
Getting the animation of the character, launching them into the air, putting the blood on it, being knocked down, and
they shake the screen.
And the sound call that Dan Forden did.
It's like, we need like a really big sound for a hit. It's like, okay, so I made like a really big sound for a hit. The scream of the attacker. The victim, yelling as he flies away. Put all that stuff together, it's like, boom. It's like, oh my God.
I remember we were just walking around just doing uppercuts again and again and going, God, that feels so good, that feels so good.
That's how people knew when something was cool in any game. People were gonna be like, holy smokes. And now you have something. And then, so that, and then the fatality.
Like, fatalities were the big thing that made us a hit.
Ja, also wirklich, Fatalities war natürlich das, was Mortal Kombat aus der Sache herausgestochen hat. Und ja, also Uppercuts war auch so mein Favorite. Das habe ich also auch ständig gemacht, aber das war auch so, hat Spaß gemacht, einfach so Uppercuts zu machen, wa? Raidens Torpedo, 2 Ninjas, 2 Haltungen. Komm hierher. Ja, fangen wir mal hier oben an.
You know what would be a cool ass move?
One more time. All right, that's cool.
Do ninjas ever have any sort of...
That was cool, man. What was that?
Ninjas ever have any sort of rules or whatever? You pull something like an arrow or whatever, it's stuck into the other guy, and it dragged him across the...
Didn't you say...
Right, although we used to try to do the wind up and throw is usually like 5 frames maybe. Like if you went like
Yeah, something like that. You can do the wind up. Maybe something more like you do like this. Because you know what I'll do? I'll like trail the rope.
right. Can you make where you throw it the plane like I want the thing to hit the guy in the chest, you know? Because we have a bunch of frames from big now, and we use that as a drag. So when you stop, your arm is parallel with your chest as opposed to way down here.
Okay, so try to do it chest level.
Okay.
A little bit more of a wind up. Now that would be alright, because I could do like a little thing of the rope, more like this, like a tie in, like a little snake in. Oh, you know what? Wait, you know what we should do? After he does that, we should have him do.
Well, I think you have to do like a.
Yeah, okay. So, do the throw, and then we need some kind of throw back.
Put your hands together and do that.
Okay. Yeah.
When you try to wind up with a little more like right now you're kind of just going.
Okay, one more time.
Es ist ja wirklich Arbeit dahinter, weil wenn die ganze Zeit Szene für Szene dann 20, 30, 40 Mal machen musst, ja, ist schon heftig.
What we should do?
What?
Is if we had 2 stance frames for him.
Okay.
One for the old guy. I mean, it'll cost us 7 frames, but it'll just make him seem
alright.
different.
Okay, see that?
It'll have to be kind of similar because they're both going to be going to the same punch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But different enough that they're fighting each other.
We'll do that one stance you just did, and we need one slightly different. Because what we're going to do is we're going to take the yellow of your palette and have another ninja. And what we're going to have 2 different stances. One ninja's going to have one, the other's going to have another. But we're going to use all the same punches. Alright, so let's do the first stance. Try doing this out like this. Yeah, yeah.
A little slower.
A little slower, yeah. Okay. That's good. I should be able to get some of that. And then let's do the second one.
The other hand, kind of the same, but the one that was up before, try it like, you know, one was on the middle. A little more tucked into your
More like this. Right. Yeah, we need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, something kind of like that.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, keep it open. Keep it open too. You want to remove one?
Yeah.
Try
do a little more body movement there. And try to like rock in a repeated manner, you know? Something that, you know. Yeah.
Ja, die muss natürlich dann unterschiedlich aussehen, weil mit wenig Mitteln muss man natürlich gucken, dass man da eines zustande bringt. Ha. Okay. Judy, na denn. So viele Tasten. Jap. Also vereinzelt hast du dann wirklich... Gut, du musst da gucken, dass du da das Ganze so eng wie möglich machst. Jo, aber die Fatalities kommen jetzt beim nächsten Mal. Denn erstmal Dankeschön fürs Zuschauen und dann sehen wir uns beim nächsten Mal wieder, wa? Tschüssi!